Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany is our very special guest today, Thursday, September 12th, 2024. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you are watching DrydenWire Live, presented by Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream and break down government barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Find an event near you at afpwisconsin.com and join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. I want to say a quick special thank you to our guest on last Thursday's DrydenWire Live show, Executive Director at IOTR, Luke Hilgeman. Tom, I don't know if you know who he is. Boy, that guy was a very impressive man. So he joined us for an hour-long chat last week. We talked about a number of things, including hunting, which, I don't know anything about, conservationism, etc. It was a great show. I highly recommend people watching it. You can find that. Just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DrydenWire, and check that out. With that, again, we welcome back to the show Tom Tiffany, who joins us on the second Thursday of every month. Congressman, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hope you're well, Ben. Just one thing that I would add as we start is I hope everyone had a chance to participate in an observance in regards to 9/11 yesterday and what happened over 20 years ago in our country. And I know we had a few moments of silence in the various committees that I serve in as out in Washington this week, and very appropriate to recognize what was a terrible day in American history.
What does Congress do on 9/11?
So there's a few different observances that go on, but in the committees that I'm in, Natural Resources and Judiciary, we both were in session yesterday, and people observed a few minutes of silence to remember those that died on 9/11.
I think I saw a story this week that it is now more FDNY or more firefighters have now died since 9/11 from the after effects, from health issues after the effects. I believe it was regarding health. Did you see that? Are you aware of that?
I haven't, and I've not studied that closely, but I've heard about it, and it's a good prompt. I'll have to take a closer look at it.
Speaking, so last Thursday, so do you know who Luke Hilgeman is?
I do.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts before I start saying something nice about him? Maybe you think he's an absolute tool.
No. You go ahead.
Yeah, so it was great. There's some conservationism talk and hunting, which, I don't know anything about. But he said something that I did not know. And I kind of thought at first, like, okay, that can't be true. That there's actually like hundreds of millions of dollars being of these organizations that they're spending to ban like all hunting, not just in Wisconsin, in our country. And apparently there's a movement over in Oregon to like basically criminalize or ban fishing. I'm like, well, I understand like the wolf thing. That's a very hot topic. But all hunting? Are you aware of this? And who are these people?
Yeah, certainly you see it, especially through the animal rights groups. They say that, oh gosh, how can you kill anything? And of course, we all know that if hunters are not allowed to harvest, those animals are going to die one way or another, and oftentimes a horrible death, like with mange or something like that. So that the North American model, and I don't know if Luke talked about this, but the North American model says hunters can manage wildlife, and doing that via the fees that they pay and those type of things, it allows us to have a really robust wildlife population throughout America, and you give people opportunity to be able to recreate. And so, but some people just don't see it that way, and including some of the anti-gun people, they view stopping hunting as a way to be able to get firearms out of people's out of hands. For example, when you look at the wolf situation in northern Wisconsin, you have far fewer deer. The deer season isn't anything like it used to be. And there's some people that do believe that the anti-gun people, that they support this movement of having wolves out there, because if young hunters, when they start hunting, if they find that they don't have success, they're probably going to move on to something else, right? They're probably going to say, gosh, mom and dad tell me this is so much fun. Well, I ain't having any fun
Yeah.
because I'm not seeing anything. And so they just say, I'm not going to hunt. And so there's some of that thought out there also, that these groups, very well organized, very well funded, just like the environmental organizations, that they want to impose their values on the rest of America.
That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. It just absolutely is. I mean, have they thought it through? Like you had already touched on a couple of things, like what would happen within 5 years if we just banned all hunting? And Luke had said like 80% of all hunting in America is white-tailed deer. I mean, have they actually thought that through? Like this isn't going to end well. It's going to create like 9 problems, like serious problems. To say nothing of our economy and tourism and tax dollars. Holy cow!
I mean, that's why the North American model is that's just widely respected. I mean, people like Aldo Leopold, who's recognized as one of the great conservationists of the 20th century, he believed in the North American model. But you have these people that have just gone off the deep end in regards to this. And many of them, though, are agenda driven. They are opposed to any hunting for any purpose.
Well, hopefully that doesn't go very far, and hopefully that's the last time we have to talk about it because that's bizarre. Hey, you put out
Well,
a what?
yeah, a good thing in Wisconsin, we have the right to hunt and
You
right
did
to
talk
hunt and
about
fish.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was put in place probably 20 years ago, and give the legislature credit at that time that they had the foresight to say, we need to make sure and do that, because while there's a few wackos now, if they grow in numbers, they may come after hunting and fishing.
Yeah, I think you'd said that there's either 26 current states that have that or 26 that don't. I can't recall, and that's part of the things that they're working on. I think it's in Florida right now. They're trying to. It should be on a. I don't know if it's a referendum or it's in legislation. I can't remember. But to try to get what Wisconsin has in other states, if you can put that in place in all the states, that will be huge. So yeah, good luck to Luke and what he's doing. You put out a press release yesterday. The headline was Congressman Tiffany's legislation requiring Senate approval of World Health Organization treaty clears House. For people who did not see that, what was that about?
Yeah, so it's a bill that we introduced a number of months ago, but it's really picked up steam here in the last month because the Biden-Harris administration is currently negotiating an agreement with the World Health Organization, which is an arm of the United Nations, and it has to do with pandemic preparedness. So they're doing it under the guise of World Health Organization should be the lead organization in dealing with pandemic preparedness. And here's the things that should be implemented if there is another pandemic. The concern is that if this is signed by the Biden and Harris administration, that this holds us responsible. It makes us as Americans have to comply with it. And so what we're saying, normally that's done via a treaty. And a vote to ratify a treaty with another country requires a supermajority, a two-thirds vote. So we're saying because this is very similar to a treaty, let's make sure that this is subject to a two-thirds vote before the United States Senate. Bill passed through the House yesterday and is now on to the Senate.
All right, so I'm trying to put that into dumb kid version, which that'd be me in this scenario. Is Am I understanding that right? So that would be the World Health Organization then gets to kind of decide how to deal with it worldwide, and of course, America is part of the world. And what you're saying is that should be the United States decision. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it basically gives up our sovereignty and our ability to manage our health decisions. Because what would happen if we sign this and this goes into law, if the Biden-Harris administration would do this, this would hold us to having to do this under international agreements. And so there's a few problems at this point. One, they won't provide the language to us so that we can see what they're actually negotiating. So there's not transparency there. The second thing is, look at the history of the World Health Organization. At the end of 2019, Taiwan warned the World Health Organization, there's something really funny going on in this Wuhan lab in China. You should check it out. The World Health Organization ignored it, and it's because they are in the bag for communist China. Communist China holds great sway in the World Health Organization. And the Communist Chinese have proven themselves to be untrustworthy because it's almost certainly the case. There's not a lot of people that are disputing it any longer. That virus, the COVID virus, was released from that Wuhan lab in China, where they were conducting gain of function research, which basically, to me, gain of function research is humans trying to play God. And it's a very bad place to be in terms of medical research. So there's all this stuff that happened in the background with the World Health Organizations, with the tentacles of the Communist Chinese that are in there. And we're just going, hold it. Let's not subject the citizens of America to any agreement that's struck with the World Health Organization. And for the life of me, I don't know why the Biden-Harris administration, first of all, why they won't provide us the language, and why they would jump into bed with the World Health Organization with their track record.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because in the press release that we put on our website at DrydenWire.com, it's also on our Facebook page. I'm sure it's on your website, and actually I know it is. I saw it there this morning as well. But you had there were several links in there, and one of them was the actual vote. And so the Republicans, of all the Republicans that voted in the House, 215 said yay, nobody said no. And the Democratic Party side, of all those that voted, 199 said no, and only 4 said yes. So, on a side note, do we really is that really bipartisan? I feel like there should be a threshold. Like, it's got to be at least 20 people on the other side before we can actually call it bipartisan, because it's just 4 people. But anyway, so why do you think there was 199 that said, no, we absolutely should do, we should move this forward. We shouldn't do this. It's bad. And we really like the World Health Organization overseeing this. We think they did a great job last time. Let's do that again. What's the argument on the other side?
So I'm heartened that 4 people chose to come across the aisle because they were under enormous pressure to not vote for this. What? And what they were told is that you're undercutting the Biden-Harris administration's ability to be able to put in place international agreements. And that's the sole purview of the executive branch. And so they have a bit of a point to be made in regards to that, because it is the executive branch's responsibility. But it is also in our Constitution that treaties shall require a 2/3 vote. And this is much like a treaty. And especially after what happened with COVID and the implications with the World Health Organization and the Communist Chinese and how they handled this, how they hid information from the world, and you ended up with all these people dying. I mean, an incredible disruption of the world we all remember from a few years ago. We think that there needs to be transparency and accountability. So let's have it subject to a vote by the Senate. We're not asking them to send it to the House or whatever. And by the way, I think the larger point here is that Congress, I believe, over the last few decades has given so much power to the executive branch. I mean, there's so much power that's been ceded to the executive branch. I mean, look at the executive orders. And everybody in Congress, I don't care who you are or what party you're with or who the president is in the party they're in, we should all be fighting against this great power grab that has gone on by the executive branch. So for the life of me, and I said this on the floor, I don't understand why all members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, aren't saying at this point, hey, we want to return some authority to the Congress of the United States rather than us being, the puny kid that gets the sand kicked in our face regularly by the executive branch.
You know what I find interesting? That if everything you just said, the Wuhan and the lab and China, and they released everything you just said, if you said that on the show 3 years ago, it would have been, no joke, removed from YouTube when we put it in. It would have gotten flagged and removed, because that happened once, I think, when Adam Jarko and Patty Shockner were on for a show, and he brought something up about masks, and they removed it. Like, nope, you can't put that on here. Yeah, it was crazy. I still give Adam a hard time for that.
So you were censored.
You get 100% right. Yeah, they took
Yeah,
it down.
you
Yeah,
were censored. That's it. So that's part of this agreement is that number one, they can take intellectual property from, let's say you're a business in the United States and you have something you've produced that could help with the next pandemic. They can take that intellectual property if this agreement goes in place. The second thing is we believe, I don't know if we're 100% sure, but we believe that there's First Amendment concerns going exactly to what you're saying, where they can say, no, you can't say this about this pandemic, just like they did with COVID 19. And of course, as you well know, it's all become true what many of us,
right.
including
Yeah,
your friend Adam
yeah,
Jarko, said,
yeah.
that it turns out he was telling the truth. By the way, if people are really into this, um, uh, people should follow a court case, Berenson versus Biden. A guy named Alex Berenson, a writer, used to write for the New York Times, but he really went after the whole COVID protocols and stuff like that, and they censored him. Twitter, before Elon Musk bought Twitter, they paid a settlement to Alex Berenson to settle with him because they were censoring him. Well, he's now after the Biden administration, Pfizer, because they worked behind the scenes to stop him from being able to share his views. The ultimate in censorship. And it's a really interesting case, and it's going to be a big case when it
Yeah,
comes
and
down here.
there's some fine lines there, and which parts cross that as it relates to vis-a-vis the First Amendment. So we have a 9:55 hard cutoff time, so we have about 10 minutes left here, and I want to ask you why we have a 9:55 cutoff time, but I don't want to forget to just get an update. Are there any updates on the national Wisconsin, the what you were working on, the Apostle Islands becoming a national park? Are there any updates on that?
Yeah, so making the Apostle Islands a national park
Yeah,
rather than a national lakeshore. By the way, I would remind people that there's not a lot of change in terms of the management of the national lakeshore by it becoming a national park. And it's the same footprint. And I really urge people, as I was traveling around Northwest Wisconsin, especially last weekend, I was in Superior, Webster, been talking to a lot of people that are up in the Northland. And there's a fair amount of inaccurate information that's out there. We have a 15 question and answer document that we put out. It's purely the facts. There's no propaganda in it, and it's the most frequently asked questions. Just call our office and get it. In fact, it might even be up on our website. I'm not sure,
we
but
put something up on our site, but I don't recall it being. I don't. I think there was like 3 or 4 things in there, and I go to your site almost every morning, like I do for a lot of others,
that
just to see. But I don't recall seeing that. Yeah, maybe we'll
yeah,
ask for it and then ask if they want us to publish that because I think that would be good information.
yeah, that might just be a press release we put out. But we have a
Sure.
full 15 Q&A, and I urge people to read it. I think it'll answer many of the questions that we have. But we had a teletown hall last week. We had over 5,000 people that joined in on the teletown
What?
hall. Had great questions, especially the people locally in Bayfield, Washburn, Ashland County. We really had some good questions, and I hope we were able to answer many of the questions
Sure.
in regards to that. So
Where
we're
is it
going to
in the
see.
process right now?
Yeah. So we're deciding at this point if we're at the point where we can pass it out of natural resources, and we're evaluating the testimony received, including Senator Romaine Quinn's back in July,
Right.
as well as all the comments that people have been sending in, because this is not fait accompli. That's what I've really been emphasizing to people. We were just starting the process in July, and we want to hear from people. We have been. That's a good thing.
So again, we have a hard cutoff time in just about 8 minutes from now. I thought I'd see some headlines about I don't know government shutting down, and seriously, I
Oh,
never actually take it seriously. I really don't because I'm like whatever, they'll figure it out. They always seem to. It's rare that it doesn't. But what is the reason? What do you have going on today? After the show, you have to go soon. What's going on today?
yeah, so today's a flyout day for us, and we cast our final votes here this morning. Within the next hour, we'll be casting our final votes of the week. And this is China Week this week for us. And
China Week.
uh, yeah, so the bill that I had in regards to the World Health Organization,
Hmm.
that falls
Sure.
under that heading.
Yeah.
And so it's just dealing with issues in regards to China. not allowing them to be able to buy American farmland, and various other issues.
Yeah.
We've had a number of bills that we've had before us this week that we're kicking out of the House, sending over to the Senate to make sure that we're holding Communist China accountable for their interaction with the United States and the American people.
I saw a map of how much land that China owns, and I was like, you got to be kidding! Like that's a lot. And then some of them, like if you look at what it's around or near, that was concerning. Like no joke. Like North Korea really doesn't worry me too much. Then again, I don't know a lot. I'm not on the inside, but China freaks me out. Like seriously, they really worry me.
Yeah, they have tremendous resources. I mean, think about it. They've set up Confucius Institutes in our colleges that are meant to advance their ideology, which is socialism, communism. They've set up police stations, including in Minneapolis, where they monitor Chinese people, including.
Wait. They set up. What do you mean a police station? Like
They have police stations, what they call, I believe they call them police stations, but anyhow, where it's not an official police station like we have in America, but it's a way in which they monitor their people in the United States. They want to know what they're doing all the time. They want to make sure they're not undermining their government. Heaven knows they don't want to have free speech by their people. They also track people from Taiwan, which Communist China says Taiwan is ours and they should not be a free country. So those things happen around America. The point is, it's another example of how controlling they are and how they're trying to infiltrate us in America. Communist China produces the analogs for fentanyl. The fentanyl that's made in Mexico. They ship the analogs to Mexico, and then it's produced in Mexico, and it's the number one killer of young people in America, that being fentanyl. They are doing everything they can to undermine America, and we can't say it loudly enough or enough, because I suspect many of your listeners are going, is it really that bad? It's that bad.
Yeah.
When you see it out in Washington, D.C., and I have to say, even some Democrats are out there that they're like, yes, this is really serious. And they do everything they can to infiltrate us. For example, Governor Kathy Hochul in New York, it was just revealed last week that there was a Chinese spy that was in her administration, as well as the administration before that, which was Governor, who was the governor that had the failed COVID response? Cuomo.
I can see his face.
Yeah, Governor Cuomo. Yeah. So they had a communist spy in the governor's office. Dianne Feinstein, God bless her soul, she passed away, but former U.S. Senator from California, she had a communist spy driving for her for 20 years. Representative Eric Swalwell from California, when he was sitting, I think, on city council, he had a communist spy that he was carrying on a liaison with. I mean, this is the stuff that they're doing. They're trying to undermine America, and we need to be really serious about it. And so we're having China Week this week, passing bills that hopefully will hold China in check in terms of their grand designs to control the world.
But we can't go like real heavy at China, right? We just can't. Right, they're trade partners, and I don't know, all the stuff that we do. All our, like half of our stuff is made in China, right? There's no way we can really go heavy at them as a country, right? I mean, so it's the things that you're doing, like that's what we can do, but we can't really say that's enough. We're cutting you off from everything, and we can't actually do that, right?
You seek accountability. You seek accountability. That's exactly right. And actually, in the debate the other night, President Trump really highlighted. I mean, he's the one that has really taken. He really took the tariffs and used them to try to seek accountability with China. Yeah, we want to trade with you, but it's got to be fair. You can't be dumping product below cost that jeopardize our industries. You can't be dumping products that are inferior, which happens more than we know. And so it is really important to have that accountability.
Speaking of the debate, I just, look down and I see that you have, some, I don't know if anybody's talking to you in your ear, what you have in your ears right now, but I would recommend you could get some Tiffany earrings, or not Tiffany earrings. You can get some pearl earrings to kind of hide that a little bit better. That's the craziest story I've ever heard, by the way.
So
That's crazy.
So it'll be interesting to see if it ends up being true. But
Oh,
so first of all, I want to assure your viewers, listeners, that I will not be wearing earrings. But I suspect my wife would really love a set of Tiffany earrings if I would
Tiffany
do
earrings.
such a thing.
Yeah, good luck with that. All right. Any last words before we wrap this up, so you can get everything signed, get your work done, and you said it's a fly out day. Where are you heading? Is it like just back home, or?
Oh yeah. I'm coming back home, and can't wait to be home for the weekend. I'll be around the district. We're going to be doing some stuff, and I just can't. The weather forecast is. I mean, to have this warm weather in September, I can't wait to be home to be able to enjoy it. And fall colors coming up. Just can't wait to do it. We got 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left in before we recess for the election in November 5th. So we got 2 more weeks in September, and we're going to try to figure out the continuing resolution and how that's going to work.
Wait, so you're off. So basically, like the end of September. But so then October and the first couple weeks, or at least the first week in November. Then you go back before the end of the year, or is it like no, you're finished until like?
Oh yeah,
January?
we'll be back in November and December, and
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be interesting times.
Congressman, thanks so much. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Have a great weekend, Ben.
Thank you. Special thank you to Wisconsin 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany for taking the time to come on for a chat with us today. I'll see you all here next Tuesday when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald will be back with me for our weekly episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. So until then, for DrydenWire.com, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.